Dan Perry here with another C++ tutorial for Dan on Tech. In this video we will begin looking at random numbers, and in order to do or use random numbers, C++ has another library, the cstdlib, and that library in standard C is stdlib.h, but the cstdlib is a library that contains the random number function. And so we're going to look at random numbers. Now, the random number generator in C++ and C doesn't truly generate random numbers. It generates what they call a pseudo-random number, or not truly random, but if you do it right, random enough for most uses. First thing I'm going to do is I've created a random variable, and I'm going to just say that random is equal to the function for generating random numbers, rand, open close parentheses. And so that will generate a random number and put it in the randnum variable. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just cout it. And let's run this program. And when we do, we end up with an output and a random number, or what we hope is a random number, of 41. So we generated a random number there. Now, that's not quite right, because watch what happens. I'm going to run this program again. And I got the same random number. That doesn't look good. Well, before I explain what's going on, let's go in and let's put these two statements, let's put them in a loop, and let's generate maybe 10 random numbers and see if something strange or something unusual may be happening. So we'll start I at 1. We'll go I less than 10. And we'll add 1 to I each time. And let's see what happens when we run this and generate 10 different random numbers. Again, it started with 41. Now, I'm not going to close this out. I'm going to run the program again. And, well, it started with 41. And let's see. If we look at these two lists, they're the same. So you said it was random numbers, but it doesn't appear random. Well, that's because of one of the problems with this pseudo-random number generator, and that is it always starts with what's called a seed value, and we've never done anything with that seed value. So since we've not done anything with it, what's actually going to happen is every time we run the program, we get the same list of numbers. They won't be random. In order to truly generate a random number, we need to use a function that's going to create or a seed value that truly is random. Well, we use a function called srand for that, or S for seed rand, and we supply it with a value. Now, if I were to give that srand the same value each time, let's say 100, and let me run this a couple of times. Well, let's see, I got 365, 12, 16. Let's run it again. 365, 12, 16 for the first two. So still isn't random. So what we need to do is make sure this seed value changes every time. So how do we do that? Well, that's where our time function that we've looked at in an earlier video comes into place. Let's use the time function, And remember, the time function will generate a random integer, or not, I'm sorry, not a random integer, an integer based on the number of seconds since the Unix epoch. So unless you ran these programs, two of them, at the exact same second, that seed value is going to be different. So if I run it now, and I get here a list in a second, I get 10 random numbers, and 30,000, 9,000. Let's run this again. And what we should find is when we run it again, we'll get a different list. So this time, well, it's still a 30,000 number, but it was 482. Then the next one went from 28,000 something to 9,000, a 26 to a 17. So we've got what looks like at least, well, it's at least a different list, so at least better random numbers. So if you're going to use the random numbers and generate random numbers, you need to seed those random numbers with a random value. One of the best ways to do that is to use the time function to seed those, and that way we will get a better group of random numbers. Thank you for watching this Dan on Tech video. Please subscribe to this playlist so you don't miss future videos. Please check out and subscribe to other Dan on Tech channel playlists.